Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of When I Grow Up. Today we actually have a very special guest, and she is my best friend. Her name is Blair Kim. She also happens to be my wife. Hey Blair, thanks for joining us today.
Hey honey, thank you for that awesome intro.
It's pretty good, huh?
Yeah, it's really good. You have it memorized.
Yep, listen to it every week.
Hey guys, I just wanted to do something a little bit different for this week's episode. We made it through 30 weeks and 30 episodes, 30 interviews, 30 amazing stories about people's lives. And honey, I honestly, I can't believe it.
Why?
I don't know. One, it went by really fast.
It did. This year went by really fast.
2020 has been a year for sure.
Yes, it was very fast.
And two, I'm surprised that I found people that were willing to talk to me.
Yeah.
And not just talk to me, but really share like vulnerable things about their lives.
Right.
And I just am so, so thankful to every person that's been a part of this, passion project of mine, really.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I've really grown to, be passionate about and really enjoy. I look forward to meeting with people, even though it's like late at night, which another thing is like, I'm super appreciative of all the people that have adjusted their schedules to meet with me. And then even like people that are listening, I know I shouldn't be like shocked
that there are people listening.
Yeah, but at the same time, like kind of, and you guys, I just want to take the time to say thank you for listening to the episodes. And a lot of you have actually reached out to me personally to encourage me to keep going because from what you're telling me, they are helping. They're helping you be motivated and encouraged. And some people, it's even helping them make life decisions, which is so amazing. It is exactly what I wanted to see happen, but I didn't think it would happen this quickly. So you guys have been so supportive. I love my community of people, our friends. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a great 30 weeks.
Yes,
right?
30 weeks. That's crazy to say.
It's more than half a year. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Very consistent.
It kind of sounds like we're ending the series, but we're not. We're not ending it. I just wanted to take a moment because I feel like I haven't really thanked people for their support.
Yeah, and we thought it'd be fun to do a little break from our regular, what do you call it? Format, I guess,
yeah.
for Christmas. And
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. It'll be this week. And yeah, we'll just be talking about the past 30 weeks, how this year has been for us, for Blair, and for us as a family, and everything from just life in general, and even how the podcast has affected and changed our lives. And I guess Blair is here to share what it's like to be a podcaster, her day to day, what she does, and
I guess, yeah. I kind of shared a little bit in the first episode, I feel like. But it's different now because now I'm 30 weeks deep.
Right.
As
so
a
tell
podcaster.
Me, Blair, what does a podcaster do?
Nothing different than no. I don't know how other podcasters do it. But I will say,
actually, this question started as a joke, but actually we've had some people ask us about how to start a podcast, and so I guess it would be a good way to kind of just talk about it, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know if advice is the right word, but just talk about it, and then if they have more questions, they can,
Yes, absolutely. Just for your information, anyone can start a podcast.
Yep.
if I can do it, anybody can. And
one
I
can.
will even go as far as to say, like, 2020 really has been a year of, like, a lot of people have been jokingly saying this, but like the year of the podcaster, because like I think a lot of people have been meaning to start creative things in their lives, but 2020 has provided opportunity and time to do things that they've always like kind of wanted to do but never felt like committed enough to do it. But now, because there's been so much time on people's hands, I feel like there's been a creative outlet or opening for people to start doing the things that are outside of their obligated time,
Right.
which has been so great.
Yeah, it has. We've been seeing a lot of our friends do new things and try different things, and it's been awesome to see just the amount of creativity that's out there that was untapped before, right? And now people are kind of putting it out there and
Yeah.
working on it. It's been great to see all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but going back to your question, honey, about starting a podcast, I think for me, right, it was just I honestly I just had to start. And for me it started with finding guests.
Right.
So I have no formula and I have no like formal training in podcasting, and there are actually a lot of like tutorials and a lot
really?
of like workshops on like I should take one actually, but on how to start a podcast. I know they're super informative, I'm sure, but for me it was just as easy as, or I wouldn't even say as easy, taking the initiative to find guests that would come on and like kind of lining them up, because I didn't want to feel rushed.
Right.
Like, especially with our lifestyle, just being a stay-at-home mom too. I just didn't want to feel in a hurry to find guests for the next week,
Right.
each week. And then David's been editing all of the episodes too, which, thank you, honey. It definitely wouldn't be possible without you.
It's true.
And yeah, it is totally true. And actually it's probably, podcasting is maybe not as easy as I say that it is, because I actually don't do any of the technical work.
Honestly, it's really easy. It's just, I feel like just because of our personality, it's just why it takes this much work.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I mean, like you talk about it in your, what do you call it? In your ad in the beginning. Like Anchor is really easy to use. You can just record straight to your phone. You don't even need any equipment. You can just record straight to your phone.
That's true.
And you can, if you need to edit anything, you can edit straight from the app. You can add music with the app. You can do whatever. Everything is there. Oh man, another ad for you guys. You're welcome. But it really is really
Sponsored.
easy. Yeah, it's really easy. You guys can just. It really is as simple as just starting, and if you go through the app, you can just record, and it's really simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just start. If you want to start a podcast, download the Anchor app.
Yeah. But that is a good tip though. Like for you to have content ahead of time. I mean, obviously not everyone's gonna have guests, right? But if they're gonna do content on their own or whatever, just having a couple ahead of time before you launch it, so that you don't stress about the next week's episode and you have some leeway, even if you miss a week or two. You're not stressing about it, because I feel like that would be a really big stressor.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think scheduling like a content calendar, is really something that would be helpful. And I also feel like deciding how often your podcast will
Right.
be released. That was kind of something we went back and forth on in the very beginning, the start of when I grew up. Are we going to do it weekly, bi-weekly? But David and I felt confident, I think, enough to I think also David wanted to challenge me as well as a new podcaster to produce a product or every week. And yeah, it was good. I think it was good that I did that.
Yeah, it's great. So there's not, I mean, I guess there's not much to talk about what you do, because it's just, you just schedule a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and then you open Zoom
Mm-hmm.
on that specific date,
Mm-hmm.
and you just talk
That's true.
and
I
record.
mean, so I do some prep work,
Right.
contacting my guests, and
Mm-hmm.
then I usually will send them some sort of outline
Mm-hmm.
of questions. And if you listen to the podcast regularly, you can kind of, I feel like you can kind of tell like the outline I go
Mm-hmm.
through. But I obviously don't stick to it. But it's just so the guests feel more comfortable before they
Mm-hmm.
come on, to prepare a little bit in their mind what they're going to talk about, or
Right.
what I'm even going to ask them about.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and so then and even during the interview itself, I feel like it's really helpful for me to have a mental picture of where I'm
Right.
going, like which direction I'm going in. Um, yeah, and actually, if you guys have any feedback about that, like what questions you want to hear more
Yeah.
of, please tell us. Like, help
And
me
if you have
out.
more people, we can be interviewing too.
Oh, yes,
That's great.
absolutely. I'm
Yes.
always looking for more content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's it, really,
Yeah.
honey.
That's really what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah,
Or a week-to-week basis, I guess.
with the podcast,
Right.
yes.
Right.
I do
So
more.
then what do you do on a day-to-day basis? what what do you do on a day? What does your day-to-day look like?
Well, as a stay-at-home mom, I am just with my kids all day,
Mm-hmm.
from morning to night, which has been so um great,
Mm-hmm.
but also very challenging. I think 2020 is definitely not how I imagined it to be. Like, I'm sure the entire world feels.
Right.
And I just want to say, like, as I'm venting about 2020, nothing compared. I do not like want to dismiss the fact that there have been a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
even people personally that we know, that
Mm-hmm.
have gone through some really serious and difficult things throughout this year,
Mm-hmm.
losing family members to COVID, or even just losing jobs. And praise the Lord, our family has not been affected in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But there have been other challenges which a lot of people, I'm sure, can relate to me, that even though our life isn't comparable to others, but we have our own struggles within this year. And mine as a mom has been just navigating being home,
Right.
like, all the time.
Right.
And at the beginning, when we first went on lockdown in March, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when Eli was in I guess preschool.
Mm-hmm.
But he only went twice a week, and we had a regular schedule. Zoe, our daughter,
Mm-hmm.
our second, is she even went to like this thing called Little Gym, where they would do like gymnastics and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And
They're 3 and 2 now, right?
oh,
Eli's about to turn 4.
yes, Eli is 3
Mm-hmm.
and Zoe is 2,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, but what was I saying?
You're just home, and they were going to things before.
They were going, Eli was going to preschool twice a week. And during that time, I could, Zoe was still really little
Right.
and not so active, but I could still do things with her. Like, I didn't have to take 2 kids to the grocery store. I could just take 1 kid, while Eli was in preschool. Just little things like that, like silly things that I took for granted. But, after school shut down and we went into lockdown, I feel like I was really having a hard time. I think even though nothing in my life really changed, like
Mm-hmm.
routine was the same, but I think even just the mentality that, like, because at that time we really had no idea
Mm-hmm.
how terrible this virus
Right.
was. And in just precaution for our family and our kids, like, we just were really strict about not going anywhere. And just even the mentality that I could not leave the house, like I couldn't just like go to Target or anything with the kids was really draining for me. And the kids too, they got a little bit stir crazy at times. Um, and 3 years old and 2 years old, from what other moms tell me, like I'm kind of in the thick of it. Just meaning like behaviorally, as they're growing older, this is kind of a difficult time where they're figuring out their own emotions, their own identities, like who they are, their willpower, towards me and towards each other. So there's a lot of fighting going on between siblings. And just, if you don't know this about me, I'm an only child. So even navigating that has been challenging for me. But, anyways, after the first couple of, I feel like a month or two in, and another thing, David was staying home from work.
Right.
So that was another addition to the change in my routine, my regular routine. Meaning like, I had to make lunches for like, because Eli and Zoe don't eat the same thing. And you don't eat the same thing as Eli and Zoe. So I was making like 3 or 4 lunches every day. And even that was like, okay, like, and, like trying to make lunch while my 2-year-old is like pulling on my arm, like just so many things, and grabbing me, and them wanting my attention the entire like day, not giving me a minute to make lunch was like, just navigating all of that was really frustrating at times. Anyways, so it definitely like took some time getting used to, but I feel like after the first 2 or 3 months, like my endurance like kind of grew a little bit,
I mean, we adapted, right, to the new
Sure,
situation.
yes, we adapted. And things are like, as far as COVID goes, like I feel like for the family, like things I've definitely adapted, and we've gotten used to being home. And it's gotten easier.
Right.
But as far as like parenting goes, there's definitely like still challenges. We wake up in the morning, and we start our day, and then we usually play for a little bit, and then maybe I'll do an activity if they're feeling like they're wanting to do an activity. And then after that, we usually have snack time, and then I'll try to make lunch during that time. And then, it goes by pretty fast, the day. Before, I feel like it was really like, oh my gosh, when is nap time? But yeah, now I feel like it's going by a little bit faster, and I get kind of sad because they're growing so fast.
Yeah, they are growing really fast. Like every day is like different. Okay, well, that was some of what you do, and I guess some of the bad.
Yes.
Not the bad, but the hard
challenges.
The challenges of being a mom, especially a mom during this quarantine. But what are some good things about your job as a mom?
Yeah, yes, definitely there are good things. I feel like I do vent to my friends, because like when you get with your friends, you just vent. That's what you do. But of course, there are so many amazing things. Like I find it such a privilege and a treasure that I can even stay home. Thank you, honey, for bringing home the money so that I could stay home and take care of our kids and be a podcaster.
Right.
I am super thankful. Yes, it's a luxury. I know that. I absolutely know that it's a luxury that I have to be a stay-at-home mom. But in doing that, I've really gotten to know Eli as an individual and Zoe as an individual. And the amount of time that we spend together, I really like know everything about them, what they love, what they don't like. Zoe, she turned 2 in November, and she's quite the chatterbox.
Right.
But I feel like a lot of people don't understand what she's saying.
Mm-hmm.
But because we spend so much time together, I can have like just conversations with my 2-year-old who's just, to other people it sounds like just gibberish,
Right.
but I know she's saying like audible sentences, and I feel that if I haven't had that much time with her, it would be difficult to have these conversations with
Right.
her, my 2-year-old, right? Our 2-year-old. And I think, I mean, I just think, time spent together as a family with our kids is going to be look so much different when they're not toddlers,
Right.
and yeah, I'm just really thankful for the fun we can have now, because I look at them and I'm like, oh, like really your life is carefree. Like you don't have to worry about anything right now. And soon you will like have worries. Our son's biggest worry is like, what am I gonna eat for lunch? Like, or is Zoe gonna take this toy from me today? That's pretty stressful actually.
Yeah,
but
stressful.
They don't really have any big worries, and I feel like this time is so valuable to be able to impress certain values in their lives too, and have conversations that I feel like definitely we wouldn't have if I wasn't able to be at home with them.
Yeah.
Oh, honey, thank you for this reflection. Because we don't really talk about it.
Right.
Like this deeply. We just say like, oh, like they did something cute today. Oh, that's another good thing too. It's like I can see all the cute things that
really
they do.
Cute.
But what about you? I guess what I'm asking is, oh, but we're still talking about me.
It doesn't matter.
I was gonna ask like, how has 2020 been for you? Like you being home and working from home, and then having to go back to work, and then even with the kids, like how has it been?
I guess for me it's been like you said, for us, thankfully our family hasn't been really affected in a negative way by COVID, other than having to stay home or having to not see our friends, or things like that. But I guess for me the main thing was just the amount of time that I was able to spend with my family, with our family. Just mine. Our family this year, because before this year, I mean my schedule was pretty packed, especially with church stuff, because I had a 9 to 5 job, and then Friday nights I would go to church at 6 or 5:30, and come back at 11, 12. Saturday I'd go to church at 11, 12 a.m. and then I'll be done by 7, 6, 7. And Sundays, obviously, we go to church in the morning and we'll be done by like 3. So there wasn't much time that I was spending with the kids, especially.
I mean, we would go to church together on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's not,
we were not, I was just I had to do things, and you were just watching the kids pretty much. And so, yeah, I feel like there was not really that much time that I spent with the kids. But this year, not having any of those, and plus the time that I was home from, the quarantining time, I feel like it's dramatically increased the amount of time that I spend with the kids. And even after going back to work, I still came back. come back for lunch, right? So that extra hour a day that I get to spend with the kids. I think it's been really impactful,
Mm-hmm.
just not just for me, but even for them in the relationship building. Um, and like I said, like getting to know them. I feel like that's not something that people think about if you don't have kids, but like we've only known them for 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
3 years. Like we're getting to know them as people, as human beings, and building our relationship. And I think this year has been really good for me in terms of that. And even with you, like spending that extra time with you, I feel like it's been really good. And yeah, for me, I think 2020 has been a year of just building and rebuilding our family.
Mm.
Um, and it's been really good. It's been really great. Um, and what else?
I mean, I just, going back to what you mentioned about you and I, um, like I mentioned before, it was an adjustment for me to have him home all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And even on the weekends, as you mentioned, like just you being here
Mm-hmm.
and not having task oriented things or responsibilities to attend to.
Right.
As much as honestly, like it was frustrating, being busy all the time. But David and I, when we got married, we knew that our life was not our own and it was for the glory of God. And so, for me, it was, but, at that time too, I didn't know what it would look like as a family, like with kids.
Mm,
And I think the first like year of Eli being born, it was really challenging for
right.
me, like in my heart and emotionally, and even like myself, like stepping down from my ministry roles as well
Mm,
and taking care of Eli while you had other responsibilities, and but we had like worked through it all, but then COVID hit,
right.
and then I like felt like I needed to make another adjustment
Mm-hmm.
for you having to be home now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we fought.
Yeah.
There was
The first couple
conflict
weeks, it
the
was a
first
little bit.
couple of weeks. Yeah. I don't really remember now what we are fighting about. Do you know?
I think it was just lack of communication and the expectations that you had.
Now that you were home.
Yes. Now that I am here, you know, obviously you had certain expectations of me to do certain things or help out with certain things.
Yeah, because you were home.
Right.
Yeah, and then like I think before it was like when you weren't home, I just did it myself.
Right.
So I would like rely on you in my head because you were home.
Right. But not with your mouth.
Yeah, I wasn't communicating with you. And so it would just turn into like passive aggressive
Mm.
things,
Yeah.
right? And like side comments.
Mm-hmm.
And it just like where to the point where I like would get really upset
Mm-hmm.
if you weren't doing what I expected you to do, but
Right.
I didn't communicate it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started to like kind of tell you things, I guess.
Right.
Is what I remember.
Yeah, I mean, we talked through it and we found, the things that you were expecting out of me, and so I started doing them because I knew that you were expecting those things out of me.
Right. And in saying all those things too, I actually learned more about you this year too.
Oh yeah, what'd you learn about me?
That you mean what you say. No, okay. No, it's not that you mean what you say. Obviously you mean what you say, but it's like it was hard for me to believe. So for example, like you would be like, "Oh, if you want me to do something,
Mm-hmm.
you just have to tell me." Right? But me myself, I'm like, "Okay, I get that I just have to tell you, but I don't want to have to tell you."
Mm.
But if I just tell you, then we both win because what I want to see happen gets done
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to guess what I want.
Yeah.
If you want to hear more about this topic, you can check out You can check out our friends podcast, But Honey, with John and Lydia Yoon. We talk about our thought process and like how different we are in the way that we think about things. I'm an external processor, and David is an internal processor. Is that or introvert?
And both.
Anyways, that's for another podcast, which already exists.
Which is interesting because since you're an external processor, shouldn't you be saying these things and not thinking them?
Oh, but that goes back to like me trying to adapt to who you are, you know, and like be understanding, right? And like die to self, you know, all those things.
Yeah.
But I realized it's not helping.
Right. I see.
You know?
It's easier if you just say it.
If I just say it.
Yeah.
Because by the time I'm like ready to say it, it's like more of an angry saying it.
That's correct.
But anyways, yeah, so I think you and I have gotten a lot closer too.
Yeah.
In our marriage. And yeah, I mean, like I remember when we were even like, so our church, you know, we're not meeting on Sundays anymore. And so if you don't know, David serves in youth ministry and I serve in kids ministry. And we had to like pre-record videos for church. And in doing that, I feel like it was a lot of fun, one.
Yeah.
And then two, like I feel like we got even, I don't know the word, honey. Intimate, closer.
Yeah, closer, I guess, is the word.
Because we were serving together again.
Right.
Which we serve together, but not really anymore because we're in different ministries. But the fact that we had to come together and serve in this capacity, I felt like was a lot of fun for us. And yeah, we got closer because of it.
Felt like we were dating again.
Oh, I don't know what that means. Like
it's different.
Like butterflies or something, or
maybe, I guess. I don't know.
Oh.
It just reminded me of that time.
Oh, like that feeling, nostalgic feeling.
Yeah. It's not like better or worse, I guess. It's just different.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like lighthearted.
Sure. More words.
like we don't have two children together already.
Yeah. But anyways, it's been a good, interesting year. Good and bad and hard, but also very fun. But going back to podcasting.
Yes.
What has been the best thing about podcasting, and what has been the most challenging thing about podcasting?
Oh, the best thing by far is just like talking to all of my guests. I just love it, you know, and I love to learn about what they're doing. I mean, all of it is extremely interesting to me. I get so enthusiastic every time because I just find it all really fascinating. Like I literally am going into people's worlds that I never even knew existed or never thought about, and I love it. So that's been really good. I feel like that's been the best part.
Yeah, definitely.
The most challenging part, well, one of the challenges for me personally is I do my interviews in the evening after our kids go to sleep. And as much as I'm looking forward to chatting with people, getting myself to the microphone sometimes is hard because I am really tired from the day, and I feel that I have to be at 100% in order to produce a product that people will like. You know, and people will listen to.
Of course.
And so it does take a lot of energy. And once I get to the microphone and start the interview, I'm usually fine. But I think there are some times I'm like, oh my goodness, And it has nothing to do with like the guests themselves. It's
Right.
just me. Like, I'm so tired. The
Right.
last thing I want to do is talk to somebody right now.
Right.
But obviously it always ends great.
Mm-hmm.
And another challenging thing has been, I think, I was gonna say finding people,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not really that challenging.
Yeah.
I always get surprised though. Like every time I ask, I get nervous asking people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just being so vulnerable right now.
Mm-hmm.
But like I get nervous asking people because I just fear rejection.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean like me and you talk about it all the time, right? Like what's the worst that could happen?
Right.
They say no.
Yeah.
No
And then
big
we just
deal.
move on.
Yeah, and just move on. I mean, and then I realized, oh, that's the point of this podcast, right? Like eliminating the fear of the unknown for people that maybe want to go into a specific line of work or
Mm-hmm.
career, and exposing that for them so that there's nothing to really be that afraid of,
Right.
and to just try it.
Yeah.
You know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But so yeah, I don't that's my main challenge. It's just like sometimes I'm just really tired.
Right. I guess. It is pretty late in the, usually it's, and again, thankful for the guests who agreed to do it at that time too.
Yes.
But that's good. Okay, then one other thing that I wanted to ask you about was, what are some things that I guess left an impression or that have, stuck with you through these interviews? So you've had 30 so far. I mean, all of them have great stuff, but I feel like there are some that maybe, I don't know, are more memorable in some way, or things that you didn't know, or things that affected you somehow, or changed you somehow, or just that, I don't know, that you liked in general. Is there something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I would want to ask you the same question since you've heard every single interview.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll go first.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, all of them have been really unique in their own way. Even my very first episode with Dr. Sue, the
Mm-hmm.
pediatric dentist, like I just felt like she really started off the what do you call that?
Podcast?
No,
Or
but like the not the vibe, but just the tone. She set the
I see.
tone
Yes.
for the podcast itself.
Yes.
And what I loved about her story was that like there were so many, she thought she was going one way,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then that wasn't the way that God had planned for her,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it was okay for her to search a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and try something else,
Mm-hmm.
and not stick to the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's been kind of the theme
Right.
for almost all of the episodes. Like
Right.
all of the people I've talked to is like, hey, like you can plan all you want,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of the times it's not going to go according to plan.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the advice that people have been giving is like be open.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're giving advice to listeners, I'm also taking it in. I'm like, yes, I need to be open to new things.
Right.
Understand that things aren't always going to go the way that I planned them. And I'm such a planner. I'm like a big planner.
Yep.
And I plan because I expect, when I execute, it's going to go well.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to your life and the decisions that you make, as far as career goes in this situation, things aren't always going to look the way that it is, right?
Right.
And let's take Jessie Leanne for example, the UX designer, right? First of all, I didn't even know what UX was. User experience. So learning about that craft was awesome. But, she graduated with a degree in, I believe it was like the business area. Is that right? Do you remember? I should have taken notes, but anyways,
It's okay.
yeah, I mean, like she graduated with a degree, and then she said, "You know what? This isn't working for me."
Right.
And I know that that's such a scary place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like you invested all this money into your education,
Yeah.
and it turns out that's not what you want to do.
20 years of education.
Yeah.
And you're like, what am I doing today?
And, you know, I feel like a lot of people listening probably feel similar.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I did.
Yeah.
I questioned my own decision. I'm not doing what I studied in college,
Right.
obviously. And anyways, and then she made the decision, you know, to do a boot camp
Mm-hmm.
and equip herself with the skills to be a UX designer.
Right.
And I was just challenged by that in itself because it's like, oh, you know, college is not the end all be all. And I think I kind of had that in my head only on, I'm going to be completely honest here, only because like that's how I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was raised to be like, this is the way to do it. And it's worked, you know, in my family, that's worked, you know, making
Right.
plans and just executing them.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly, after doing 30 interviews,
Mm-hmm.
it's more than okay
Mm-hmm.
to go off course
Yeah.
and be open to what else is out there.
Mm-hmm.
And college is not the end all be all to a career decision or your job.
Mm-hmm.
But is honestly maybe even just the beginning to something new.
Yeah.
What did you think
Just in general, or just about this?
about this?
Yeah, I mean that seems to be the trend. Obviously, not everyone out of 30 did the same thing, right? But
Sure, yeah.
there are people that stuck to. They knew exactly what they wanted to do since they're in 5th grade, and they just went for it, and they stuck to the plan, and it worked out great, you know. But I feel like, yeah, the majority of us is not like that. You know, we're not like that, and a lot of times getting stuck because the fear of the unknown has been more paralyzing than the actual, like, the reality of what's happening. You know, like sometimes you feel like nothing's going the way it's supposed to, but really it's your fear that's paralyzing you more than the actual circumstance. And so just listening to all these people change course and find different solutions and find different paths has been really encouraging and eye-opening and super cool, just to see how life has just taken people in a lot of different directions. And it's been really cool to see so many random jobs that you would have never thought about.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
that
I
would have never
feel
thought about.
thankful to even like know these people. Well, another episode that I really enjoyed and I feel like I gained a lot of knowledge from, and also just personally have honestly changed the way that I live, is the episode, I believe it's episode 16 with Dr. Stan Sonu. Not only do we talk about what it's like to be a doctor, but we also address his study of what is called ACEs. And it stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. And he can explain it a lot better than I can. But ultimately, what it is how childhood trauma affects your adult life, and can even, like, childhood trauma being like not just physical trauma but like mental trauma, affects your development and how you react to things as adults, how you react during conflict, or how you react in certain situations of everyday life, or even how ACEs affects um, your physical being
Right.
too,
Mm-hmm.
as you get older, and how it can manifest through, like, disease like diabetes
Mm-hmm.
and cancer even. And I just found it all extremely fascinating,
Mm-hmm.
and what I mean that it's impacted my life, and I feel like even your life,
Mm.
is, um, we'll meet a person, and believe it or not, everybody, I definitely do not get along with everybody I meet.
You don't?
No. um, and I think I have passing thoughts, like, why is this person acting like this towards me? And I
Mm.
think, yeah, something in my head just kind of triggers, and it's like Blair Aces. And I think even you and I, when we're together and something that happens where we interact with somebody, it kind of is a trigger word, because it's like, it immediately, shifts our heart attitude and our mentality to feel empathy. Or I don't know how you feel. I guess I can't speak for you, but for me, it's like more of an empathetic towards the situation, and it's like, you know what, this person might be having a bad day,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know what they went through today, and maybe it's affecting how they're addressing me right now. And so I'm just going to be more understanding, more empathetic. And Dr. Stan even addresses that these are some things that we can do, especially as people that are Christians,
Mm-hmm.
living a life of, um, not just in God's grace, but also being able to give God's grace too,
Mm-hmm.
right? Being able to give grace to others and understand that, the way that they act or behave is not completely completely their fault. It could be the trauma that they've been through, as a child, that has affected the way they live today.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, definitely, it's changed my mentality, when I'm in a situation where I feel like, honestly, judgmental
Mm-hmm.
towards that person.
Right. So
Um,
responding with empathy before judgment,
yes,
or
but
instead of
I'm
judgment,
working
not
on it.
before.
I'm working on it. It's kind of like the opposite, right? It's like I feel judgment coming, and then I remind myself of my conversation with Dr. Stan, and then, I'm like, okay, yes, be empathetic, because I don't know where this person's coming from.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one.
Hmm.
That's mine too. That's one of my favorite ones. Just in terms of, yeah, I feel like I learned a lot, and I
Mm.
feel like, um, overall it was just a great episode, and I really liked the Aces part, and
Mm.
I think, like you said, it affected my life. It wasn't just like an episode that was like, oh, that was good, that was a good episode, like interesting story and everything great, but more than that, it affected other parts of my life, and yeah, I think that was an impactful one.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, there are so many. I
Yeah,
can't
there's
go
a
through
lot.
all 30 of them, which I say very excitedly because I still can't believe we did 30 episodes.
Right.
Um, but another thing I feel like, on, a personal level, that I'd like to mention is, if you've been keeping up with the podcast, you know that I've interviewed all of my cousins, like on my dad's side,
Mm.
and I'm the youngest of the five of us. And it's been really cool, like, just getting to know them on this personal level of what they do for a living,
Right.
because they're all really, like, into what they do,
Yes.
right? And again, all of my guests, I feel like, are really into what they do,
Yes. Uh-huh.
like, which is such a gift.
Yeah.
And I really hope everybody, um gets to feel that way, about their job, like,
Yeah.
not feeling like they have to go to work,
Right.
which is hard to
But
do.
feeling like they get to go to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
But all that to say, like, yes, getting to know my cousins on this kind of level has been so great for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like I never got to ask them, like at family reunions, like
Mm-hmm.
in depth about what they do.
Right.
We talk about other things, but I loved seeing them come alive, you know,
Mm-hmm.
talking about what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been such a treat. And I feel like because of it, we've all gotten closer too. Because,
Yeah.
like, you know, they all did the podcast, you
Yeah.
know. And I don't know if anyone's realized it yet. I am not hardwired like a lot of them are.
Like all of them are.
Like all of them are, yes. If you need a reminder, my cousin Alicia is a lawyer, not just any lawyer. She's an assistant U.S. attorney um, for the federal. She's a federal lawyer, and my cousin Alex, he's a civil engineer,
Geotechnical
geotechnical
engineer.
engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is again, I had no clue that he did that.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool. And his brother is a biomedical engineer, you know, just saving the world one vaccine at a time. And, and then Alicia, the lawyer's brother, he is a man, what is he, honey? I can't, supercomputer
Yes.
advisor or something, manager. I should have
Who
taken
works with
notes.
supercomputers?
Yes. Again, like a term I would never use, right? Like somebody that works with supercomputers. But there are, I'm sure, people like listening that like are probably interested in that. And I am now interested in it because I had no idea, you know,
Yeah.
that these jobs even existed.
Mm-hmm.
So I could say a lot more, I feel like, about
Mm-hmm.
these episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But for the sake of time,
Right.
what did you think? Like, how's it been for you? I mean, you've kind of touched on some things, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But anything you wanted to add?
Thing I wanted to add. No, I mean, other than going into talking about each episode, I feel like there's not much, for me to add other than like what I brought up earlier about their lives not being, just a straight path. That's been really cool to watch for me, or listen, I guess. And it's been fun to listen to life stories. And it's been cool to learn new things like ACEs, and even the episode with Bernard that works with
the aerospace
yes,
engineer.
the aerospace
Or
engineer.
no, I'm sorry. He's a thermal engineer.
A thermal engineer for
Lockheed
spacecraft.
Martin.
Yes,
Yeah, and he
for
makes spacecraft.
Yes, so that's been really cool. I don't know, it's just like little things like, oh, like the thing had to travel this much time, just to have a time frame of a couple minutes to land perfectly. Like things like that are super interesting.
Super nerdy, but very interesting.
Yeah, super nerdy. But I love nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and also like, I guess to my advantage or to our advantage, I feel like even just with Eli and Zoe, I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna be like, did you know there's somebody that does this?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I feel like even like thermal engineering, right? I don't know. Maybe my scope is just really small. It just never comes to mind.
And doctors and
yeah,
and lawyers.
But it's like I never thought that I could work on a spacecraft.
Right.
But you can.
Yeah.
And I know someone that does, which makes it even closer to home. You know, and it makes it like more possible because I know this person.
Right.
Again, which has been so cool. But yeah, so you've been learning a lot of things.
Yeah, I've been learning a lot of things. I think for me, that's been fun. It's very nerdy, but
you're nerdy.
Yeah, I guess I'm cool like that.
Yes, of course.
Well, we're coming up in our hour mark here. So, is there anything you usually do like advice, but I guess is there anything else you would want to say to the people listening before we end this special edition episode?
Yes.
Oh, what is it? You seem very excited.
Yeah, because I just thought of something.
Okay.
Don't take things for granted.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds like I'm being sarcastic. My voice tends to sound like that. I've realized that these days. But I'm
These
actually
days?
being what?
What do you mean these days? Why?
I think just because of the podcast.
Oh, I see.
Like,
Like, do
my
you think you're being
my
sarcastic?
inflections and the tone of my voice.
Like you're so excited that they think you're being sarcastic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or one could think I'm being sarcastic.
Yes, people. She's actually that excited, which is so weird and such a gift at the same time. You know, like for someone who's doing what she's doing, it's perfect, but at the same time could be misleading. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know if she's for real, but she is.
No,
actually.
I'm really genuine. And even with this piece of advice, which I think everybody knows, but maybe you just need a reminder today. Like, don't take it for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take things for granted. I mean, honestly, what comes to mind too is my episode with my best friend, Christina Martinez,
Mm-hmm.
who, if you haven't listened to it yet, long story short, she is a founder of a nonprofit called The Collective Effect. Just a small plug here for her. And right now she's currently working on a campaign to build a well in a community in Uganda, Iriri, Uganda, where they don't have clean water.
Mm-hmm.
And I take water for granted.
Mm-hmm.
At the risk of sounding completely like privileged and
Well, you are.
I know I am. But like, yeah, I mean, like, David and I were just talking to Eli about like, you're just dumping clean water down the sink, a whole cup of clean water and just getting some more from our, what do you call that? Filtered water machine.
Mm-hmm. Because you want it to be cold.
Because because he doesn't want lukewarm water. He wants cold
so
water.
Spoiled.
Spoiled, but I'm thankful,
Right.
For the life that we've been given. And yeah, I mean, I give this story to say, like, yes, I take water for granted. Where there are literally people, moms, that are getting water from a dirty lake that frogs live in. And I'm like upset that Eli wants cold water that I can, you know what I mean? Like, because he's like complaining. Right. And so, not taking things for granted. Like water, or I mean, just even, I know for some, like I mentioned before, for some of us, 2020 has not looked the way that we thought it would. But look in front of you, and are you taking it for granted? The things that I believe and I am confident that God has provided for our family. And I know that He's provided for your family too. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's advice, but that's just what I want to say.
No, yeah, it wasn't advice. It was just, it's a good, I was just asking for something, for you to share, which was good. That was good. That's great.
Thank you.
I guess it's kind of advice, but
yeah, I mean,
just
like
sharing.
like even like time, like, okay, so you guys, we're like recording this in our living room right now, and if you again have watched some of the podcast episodes, you know that I record in David's like little den in the basement, but it's because David's family is in town from overseas, and I'm so thankful. Like, honestly, it can be stressful sometimes, right? Because it's not my family, my immediate family. Like, they're my in-laws, and there are suggestions that come with that term, in-laws, right? But like, I could either be stressed about it or just be thankful. And I've been super thankful because they play with our kids. but yeah, I mean, like, I am so thankful that everyone is healthy and that we can all be together. Yeah, just not taking my life for granted. And I hope that today, if you need to hear this, like, I don't take you for granted. Like, the person listening right now, I don't take them for granted, and I mean it. Like, I'm not just saying that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, they're spending an hour
Yes.
a week to listen to you talk. That's crazy.
I'm thankful. I'm super thankful.
Well, that's good. Well, guys, thank you again for listening. And if you have any questions, you can email us at
podcastwigu@gmail.com.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about being a mom or a podcaster, I'm sure I can find someone who can give you some answers.
Yes, absolutely. Are you teasing me right now?
What else do you say at the end? All right. Thanks for listening.
Until next time, guys.
Bye.
Bye.